So one of the most common questions that I'm always asked is how do I become a physio in professional sport or in football? And I think what I always say to people first of all is make sure that you want to be a physiotherapist first before you think about the kind of sports physio, and especially football physio, because it is in the headlines, it's in the media, everybody knows about it, it's seen as quite a glam profession. But as I say, it's quite hard work, it's a lot of hours and it's a lot of commitment. So I think the first thing I would do before all of that is make sure that actually physiotherapy is what you want to do. And I think you go to university, you do your physiotherapy degree, and then when you come out of there, I would always advise that you go and do your work in the NHS first, as doing your rotations, as we call it, as a physiotherapist. And you might actually find that doing some of those rotations are actually more interesting than doing sports physiotherapy. Not everybody wants to do sports physiotherapy, and there are loads of other interesting aspects of physiotherapy that are out there that I don't think people see or hear about. So that's the first thing I would say, is make sure that you want to be a physiotherapist and make sure that you do the rotations first. If at the end of all of that, you still decide that that's what you want to do and you want to become a sports physio, then you've got to start to get some experience. Now that might be doing some voluntary experience at your local club. I mean, quite often what I would say is, if you've got your local football team or local rugby team or athletics club, just go along and say you'll provide, some kind of first aid for them or some kind of injury clinic for them and get going that way. And then you might decide that you're going to go and try and apply to work at one of your local bigger clubs, whether it be, again, football or rugby, and get your experience that way. And over time, you just build and build and build your experiences. You build your courses and your training, because once you come out of university, that for me is when you start to really learn as a physio and really develop. So it's important that you carry on all your training courses, and then over a period of time you'll build up enough experience to then hopefully apply for any kind of positions that do come up within professional sport. But it's not all what it seems, I have to say. I think a lot of people just see what you do on a Saturday and think that's what being a sports physio is all about. It's not. Most of my work is done Monday to Friday, and away from the actual the match day situation. And I think there's a lot of commitment. There's a lot of, you work for 10, 11 months of a year. You don't get holidays. You don't get breaks. So you really have to love what you do. You have to really have enthusiasm for the sport that you're working in, but also for physiotherapy itself, because it is a big commitment and you have to make sure that you're ready for that commitment before you go into it, because it does take up so much of your time. But that for me is how the best way to go about it. You can write to your local clubs and see what kind of response you get for doing work experience, but in my experience not many clubs do that, because you get so many people asking. I would say, I've had so many requests for people to come and ask to do it, and it's not that I don't want them to. It's because, especially most of them are asking before they've even trained as a physiotherapist.